back to another episode of the MonkeyBoy presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today I'm very pleased to be bringing you the first of the special edition figures. This is Darkseid, and first thing I wanted to point out, if you'll notice the magazine, normally there's a number underneath where it says Superhero Collection, and this one it just says Special. And that's how all of them are. They're not actually numbered, so that's a little bit different. Also, I said I wouldn't show the packaging ever again, except for the special edition figures, so we'll do that really quick right now. It's not all that different. The difference with the special edition ones, and the reason I want to show them to you, is there is some artwork on the outside depicting the character. It usually has their name, and it has the little DC Superhero Collection logo and the seal of approval thing on there and everything. So it's pretty neat, but once you slip that off, as you can see, it's the same little blister box as the other figures. Anyway, we will be delving into Darkseid. The reason these are special edition figures as well is they are much, much larger than the normal figures. That's one of the reasons they qualify. The other qualifier is, generally speaking, they're much more highly detailed than the other figures. And for the most part, they're villains, which I find very interesting, but I suppose it makes sense since the DC villains are usually pretty big and bulky and crazy in size anyway, so... Anyway, here we go. We will be covering, of course, the magazine, featuring everything you need to know about the character. And then we will look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, the ugly. Darkseid's pretty ugly, actually. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for tuning in. And I am happy to present to you the DC Comics Superhero Collection Special Edition Figure Number 1, Darkseid. So, Darkseid is basically the living embodiment of evil in the DC universe. He is evil incarnate, literally. There is not a shred of goodness within him. And his goal, ultimately, is to seek out this formula known as the anti-life equation, which will give him the power to control all life, basically, in the universe. We also learn that Darkseid is from a race that call themselves the New Gods, and basically they're exactly that. They're godlike beings, they're near omnipotent, near immortal, they have powers beyond those of mortal beings, even though they look sort of human-like in appearance most of the time. Darkseid rules the planet Apocalypse, and it's basically a hellish planet. We also learn more about how he came to power, basically killing his own mother and convincing his uncle Steppenwolf not to stand in his way, and Darkseid took control of the planet. We also learn how he basically keeps the people under his thumb. He rules using fear, power, and intimidation, and he's extremely powerful. We learn more about what he can do and how deadly he is. One of his most deadly powers is his Omega Beam. Darkseid also has strength and near invulnerability that rivals Superman's. The next couple of pages tell us a little bit more about Darkseid's family. Yes, Darkseid has a family. We learn about his firstborn son, Kalibak, his thirdborn son, Graven. We also learn about his secondborn son, Orion, and how he was given to the ruler of New Genesis, a man named Highfather. In exchange for Highfather's son, a boy named Scott Free. we learn a little bit more about some of his generals, like the glorious Godfrey and Dr. Bedlam. We also learn about a couple of the bigger attacks he's launched against the universe, like when he tried to cross into Earth 2's universe and take on the Justice Society because he thought he could stand a better chance against them. And also when he attacked the Amazons on Paradise Island, looking for a part of the anti-life equation. The last couple pages in this section bring us up to speed with where Darkseid was at the time, at least. We see one of his greatest battles against Superman, where an enraged Superman actually drags Darkseid to the edges of the universe and traps him in this prison known as the Source Wall. Of course, being stuck in the Source Wall wouldn't keep Darkseid down for good, and he was eventually released. Basically, the last area here just is about how he is evil incarnate. How, most of the villains in the DC universe don't consider themselves evil. Like Lex Luthor, Ra's al Ghul, they see themselves like working toward a goal of some sort. And what makes Darkseid so frightening is the fact that he knows exactly what he is and why he does what he does, and he shows no sign of remorse or conscience doing it. Darkseid's classic storylines section gives us 3 to choose from. First up, we have the New Gods issue number 2, and while this wasn't Darkseid's first appearance necessarily, it was the first issue that actually featured him, and it also intrigued the readers. He became one of the most popular villains almost overnight because of this. It also showed off Jack Kirby's incredible sensibilities when it came to character creation. This is also the first time that we learn of the anti-life equation, and we see Apocalypse really in good detail for the first time. Next up we have Superman, Batman, Supergirl, and this was the Supergirl reboot basically for the DCU, but it featured Darkseid pretty prominently. He actually tries to kidnap her, brainwash her into becoming one of his femme fatales basically, and at one point actually Superman thinks she's dead. This is where he flies into a rage and goes head-to-head with Darkseid. Batman actually gets in on the action as well, and Superman eventually flies him out to the Source Wall. The artwork in this is stunning, as you can see, done by the legendary Michael Turner. Finally, we have the death of the New Gods, which is exactly what it says. We find someone or something picking the New Gods off one by one, good and evil. And it's done by the legendary writer-artist Jim Starlin, who is a seasoned writer-artist, and he actually manages to tie this into the other major crisis events that have happened in the DCU. In Darkseid's Allies and Enemies section, we see on the first page here his adopted son, Scott Free. And the next couple of pages feature a nice mix of various New Gods, both good and evil. The iconography section for this one features Darkseid's world, which is the planet Apocalypse, and it just covers some of the major landmarks like the Tower of Hate, the Armageddon, and Granny's Orphanage. We also get to see a really nice big splash page of Apocalypse orbiting with New Genesis. It's actually really cool. Finally, we have the original thinking section, which talks about the king of the New Gods, Jack Kirby, the writer-artist who created the entire world, almost every character within it, and what a legend he is within the business. He's worked with Will Eisner, he's worked with Stan Lee, he's helped create characters for countless publishers, including Marvel and DC. He was the creative force behind Thor and Captain America, the X-Men. Every single one of these characters is still around today. Most of them are very well known, and he really is just a legend in the business. first special edition in the line, Darkseid. Okay, I am very mixed about this one. I love the character. I get what they're doing with this particular design of him. They're going for like a cross between the Jack Kirby and I think the George Perez from the mid-'80s, the 80s run or so that we're familiar with from like the Super Friends and all that stuff. But, you know, it's just sort of plain. He's huge. He's very big. You'll see that in the better pictures here in just a second. And the detail is stunning. I mean, the muscles on his arms are just awesome. And his, you know, all the muscles, his back, his chest, his legs. You know, the sculpting is very impressive. His face especially is really, really nice. The eyes are so red, they almost look as though they're glowing. So it's a really, really nice job on all the detailing. It's just sort of, you know, simple details. You know, it's a simple design. Some better pictures here coming up in just a second. I like it. It's just so-so. You know, compared to the other ones that you'll see here soon, he's one of the simpler ones. Darkseid, just like the standard figure, stands above the DC logo, which is molded to his base, and he also has his name and serial number on the bottom, like all the other figures. And for the heck of it, I took a picture so you can see how much larger he is next to Superman. And really, I mean, he's gigantic when you compare the two side by side. He really is. He's easily twice the size. He's very heavy, too, being a solid lead figure. This shot of the two of them from below shows you just how big that base really is. As I said before, he's an impressive figure. He honestly is. I love this figure. I do. I get they're going for the classic look, the most iconic look, the one that most everyone I think is familiar with. You know, it matches with anything. You know, the animated series from Superman, the comic books, the Super Friends. Pretty much, you can look at this and know exactly who it's supposed to be. So I get it. It's just a very simple figure. You know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, I think, if you count black as a color. You know, the most impressive things. Here we go. The good. This sculpt is really good. The pose is really good. I get the look they're going for, really. The best thing on him is his face. The detail in his face, the way they tried to make it look like that cracked, rigid granite is fantastic. The bad, as I said, he's just kind of plain. Nothing really too fantastic about him, especially when you compare him to the rest of the line that's still to come. The ugly, nothing really ugly on mine. He's a sturdy figure. I've never heard of anything being broken or wrong with him. So, you know, overall, it's a really good figure. It's a great first special issue, I think. It's a nice way to start the line, probably with the most iconic villain of the DC Universe, who is a large-scale villain. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I am the MonkeyBoy. As always, it's a pleasure. I hope you stay tuned for the trailer for the next figure. We're going back into the regular line with issue number 9. And as always, thank you so much for watching.